What's up, everybody? It's D, it's me, and I'm back for another story time. So today is going to be the story of a snowball fight gone terribly wrong, guys. So it's when I'm younger. I think I'm about 9 years old at the time. I have my younger cousin. He's out there on a very snowy day. He's with me. He's my younger cousin. We're out there. We decide to go outside, you know, even against the advice of our grandmother at the time that was telling us not to go and play in the snow due to it being too cold. So we go outside. We go outside and we meet our friend from across the neighborhood, and he comes outside. His other sister comes outside. My sister comes outside. So now it's just a whole lot of us. So they mess around and say, well, let's have a snowball fight. And we say, okay, you know. So we make two little walls, basically, two big walls, giant walls of snowballs on each side of the yard, or like basically like a wall of snow rather. So we make these walls of snow and we start throwing snowballs. You know, I'm infiltrating, I'm running around the back of the house and stuff. I'm trying to knock off their best opponent, which is our close friend, you know. So I'm trying to make sure I can get him with the snowball. So as I go behind enemy lines, I noticed something. I'm like, what the? Y'all are putting rocks in the snowballs? Guys, they were putting rocks inside the snowballs. I'm like, oh my God. They was like, there he is. There's D, get him. And they started throwing snowballs at me rapidly. And I'm like, oh my God. Running for my life, running for dear life. Okay, so I run back all the way. I make it all the way back to my side. I'm like, guys, we gotta watch out. They're putting rocks inside the... And as I'm saying that, guys, literally just like an action movie, I'm like, and there's his cousin. She's like, running towards us as fast as she can. I'm like, my younger cousin, being the idiot he is, he took after me, guys. Brave for no reason. He goes and he's like, yeah, let's do this. He goes out there, guys. She says, whoosh, throws it. Bam! The first one clacks him square in his head. I'm like, oh. And it was a moment where it was like, everything got slow. It was like, and I'm like, how dare you? And then after that, it was just up. I started looking around. It just went all on warfare, guys. I'm like, how dare you? My little cousin, he starts crying. He looks like he's got a cut on him. I'm like, I just rage out. I grab an icicle, guys, from the biggest icicle, like, that's hanging off the side of the house. I'm like, and they're like, what are you doing, dude? I'm like, ah. So literally, I go and I start attacking them with this giant icicle. It's like a giant sword of ice. And I'm like trying to hit them as best as I can with this thing. My friend from across the neighborhood, he's like, all right, D, you want that? All right. He goes, and I'm like, he got one too. And then he picks one up, but no, guys, he says, picks two up. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't think of that. He's like, shoo, starts sprinting toward me. I'm like, all right, let's do it. We're out there getting a full-blown ice battle with two giant sickles of ice. We're just like, so we mess around, and the decisive moment was in that battle. He messed around and swings with one of his ice swords. I move, I dodge it. I'm like, ugh. He swings with this other one. I say, oh, hit it. And it says, breaks. I'm like, oh. And it says, boosh, and hits him in his face. And my sword breaks off his face. It's like, and I'm like, oh. Start running back to get me another sword. I'm like, I turn around, and he did not get up, guys. He did not get up, guys. I'm like, oh, crap. I look, my grandma comes outside. She's like, dee! And I'm like, and my younger cousin's laying over there like, messed up with a freaking snowball wound on his head. He's over there with a giant slash of ice in his face. My friend from across the neighborhood, and I'm just standing there with a giant icicle in my hand. I'm like, she's like, get inside, everybody, now! And I'm like, I start running inside. I get inside, tried to avoid it. We all got the worst whooping of our lives that night. That was just a story that I enjoyed thoroughly. I hope y'all enjoyed that story as much as I did. And I'll be uploading more very, very soon. And I hope y'all will be tuning in. Let me know if y'all like these, and I will see y'all soon. Ciao.